as Nigeria joined her counterparts across the globe to commemorate this year's Nelson Mandela's Day. The Cardinal Onaiyekan Foundation for Peace, COFP, has organized a dialogue on peace in Africa. The one-day event drew participants from the diplomatic community and other peace actors. CTV's Tony Abba completes the report.
In November 2009, the United Nations declared July 18th as Nelson Mandela International Day in recognition of Mandela's value and dedication to the service of humanity in conflict resolution, race relations, promotion and protection of human rights. This day offers reconciliation, gender equity, social justice, and democracy. It was in light of this that the Cardinal Onaiyekan Foundation for Peace, COFP, organized a one-day dialogue on peace in Africa today to commemorate the Nelson Mandela International Day. The dialogue, which was held in Abuja, provided an opportunity for diplomats from various countries to rub minds on the need for peace in Africa in line with the value of Nelson Mandela. Welcoming the diplomat, the Executive Director of COFP, Reverend Sister Agatha Chikelwe, in her remarks expressed concern over increasing violent conflict in Africa and its effects on the citizens.
It is a great honor to have esteemed ambassadors among us, representing different nations and embodying the spirit of unity and cooperation that Mandela himself spearheaded throughout his lifetime. Year in, year out, it breaks our hearts to hear and witness of different forms of violence increasing by the day across the globe, particularly in our own African continent. From the Al-Shabaab terrorist group causing high-level unrest in East Africa, to the xenophobia attacks and killings in South Africa, to the ongoing civil war in Sudan and Mali, to the current crisis going on between Russia and Ukraine, to the cases of kidnapping, banditry, insurgency, and heinous farmer conflicts in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to the ISWAP and Boko Haram terrorist groups' atrocities in West and Central Africa. The list is almost endless. Sadly, governments in different countries of Africa have not effectively managed the escalating violent situations due to their inability to tackle injustice and corruption, which often breeds inequality. Of course, no government can seriously and effectively handle security challenges without first addressing some key structural elements which often serve as drivers and triggers to insecurity and violence. The fact remains that insecurity will not disappear in a society where there is endemic corruption, lack of transparency, abject poverty, where elections are not free, let alone fair, where there is massive unemployment and lack of respect for the rule of law.
She added that COFP is drawing inspiration from the great Madiba to preach justice, peace, reconciliation, and human rights.
Inspired by the life, times, and legacies of Nelson Mandela, the Cardinal Onaiyekan Foundation for Peace, COFP, is convinced that promoting justice, dignity of human person, reconciliation, equity and fairness is the way to achieve positive and lasting peace in our polarized world.
In his keynote address, John Cardinal Onaiyekan, the founder and president of COFP, stated that the theme for this year's Nelson Mandela Day emphasized the intersection between climate change and food security,
thus stressing the need to address the intersection between global climate change and food security. If this message of the Nelson Mandela International Day is addressed to every nation in the world, it is particularly relevant to the nations of Africa.
Concerned about peace in the African continent, the Cardinal noted that peace and security has continued to elude Africa.
Peace and security have continued to elude our continent. for which our people all over Africa are paying very high price of poverty, misery, and all forms of socio-economic degradation. We cannot resign ourselves to this sad situation. The frequent reference to the continuing negative impact of the long past historical crimes against Africa of slavery and colonialism are no longer a tenable excuse for our present failures.
Ambassador Martin Ohomoibi, in his speech, enumerated some of the efforts of Nigeria in global peace.
It has missions to stabilize two countries simultaneously without borrowing a couple under a so-called dictatorship. It's a record in UN history. Nigeria did it.
Various diplomats present took turns to speak on the need for peace in Nigeria and peace in Africa.
So I believe our vast tribute to Nelson Mandela will be found in our actions. We all have the duty to do so, so let us embrace his legacy and aspire to emulate his vast example and contribution.
You have to realize now we have wars that are erupting. The current case is what is happening now in Sudan. The other cases is tensions between different African brothers in different countries. You look at issues of xenophobic, as other people they will phrase it. But you go deeply, look at these issues. These issues are struggle for scarce resources.
This was Nelson Mandela, which is appreciated even in my country, very instrumental for the change in the South Africa.
Nelson Mandela represents democratic setting irrespective of what he has suffered. He came on board and began to preach democracy and freedom and forgiveness. And there cannot be democracy where there is no forgiveness.
Because very often in our programs for dialogue and peace, we tend to concentrate very much on adults. And then we tend to forget that whether we like it or not, the future belongs to the children.
Most Reverend Daniel Oko, the CAN chairman and co-chair of NIREC, in his speech called for policies that will support smallholder farmers in Africa.
And in that one we talked about the people that feed Africa. 80% of all the farmers in Africa are smallholder farmers. And so how do we get government? How do we engage various governments around Africa to adopt policies that will favor these small-scale farmers? And these are people who live with us every day. And now, when we are talking about freedom, we are talking about reconciliation, we are talking about security, we are talking about peaceful coexistence, we need to put these people into account. Because Nelson Mandela, if he were to be on this side of life, he would still be talking about these people. He recognizes their efforts.
In Abuja, Tony Abba, CTV News.